Welcome to Shop Talk, where we chat about what's going on in our businesses right now, what's exciting and what's challenging. When something exciting happens, we want to ensure that we're taking a moment to recognize and celebrate our successes. And of course, when things are challenging, talking through them to gather each other's perspective is so often insightful.
And if you're going through any of these challenges at the moment as well, we hope that by sharing openly, you know you're not alone and that as business owners, we're all navigating this crazy journey together. So it is the end of the year. What happened? How did it happen? How are we here? But this is like such a fantastic time of year to have the type of conversation that we're going to have today. So I am excited.
Favorite. Honestly,
I
it's
mean,
my
I'm
favorite.
excited and also like, I don't know that my
Not
numbers are like actually like giving me
not everything.
celebration mode,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
honest with you. But I like being able to kind of like pause and be like, hey, like, let's
Agreed.
take a real audit of like what happened this year, some like digging in deep to kind of understand why, and then planning for what next year can look like, should look like, what I'm going to do on my end. So I really appreciate this time, but I can't say that me personally, it feels
Right.
like celebratory. How about you?
Yeah. Uh, I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Which I think is where I always am. Like, I'm such an optimistic person, but when we get to these conversations, which I love so much, I don't think that I ever leave these conversations like, I am the king of the world. Like, I don't think I ever feel quite like that. But I do really love the forced pause that comes naturally at the end of the year because I am such a person who just operates at such like high velocity all day every day, and I've always just got my head down to the ground, like on to the next thing. And I like it, the end of the year forces me to just be like, what just
Mhm.
happened?
Right.
Oh yeah, a lot of really amazing things happened. Okay, cool. What are we pushing toward next year? Okay, see you later, gotta go. Like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of how I operate.
100%.
Oh,
And the thing that I kind of encouraged even our community to do was to, if they are like just naturally like the two of us, but I think a lot of business owners can just get in this habit of it's very easy to focus on what still needs to happen, the ways we still want to grow, what maybe, levels that we didn't hit that we wanted to, all of those things. But unless we're like intentional about pausing and celebrating wins, like taking time to think through what went well, what am I proud of, what did I accomplish, and giving some focus to that because number one, it matters, because number two, it actually did happen. And because number three, it's motivating in terms of, hey, I actually did do some really cool, amazing, growth minded, all of these things actually happened. And I'm acknowledging it. And that gives me the sense of momentum for what's to come and what else I want to see. So I think it is important.
so high level, what are the top, I don't know, 3 to 5 things that you're super just proud of, you feel really good about, you feel really excited, like things that
Well,
happened this year?
because I just got away for an entire weekend and journaled all of this out, I do have them top of mind.
13 pages worth, Brianna.
13 pages of notes, my
I
friends.
was right along
Amazing.
anyone who was in the DMs with like 13 pages?
Yeah,
Was part of
literally.
that a love letter to Joey? I mean, like, what is in
Not
this
at all.
thing?
I know. I go ham, y'all. I go ham. So, a couple of things that I am really proud of.
We're
Like,
so different in this way. I have like 3 mental bullet points, and I'm
mental
like, "We're
notes.
good."
Mine's like, here is the document. What page should we start at?
It's like got a
Yeah.
like on a
Oh, that's following.
watch out, everybody. Watch out.
Exactly, exactly. So I will try to keep this brief.
Oh my
But some
gosh.
accomplishments from 2024 that I'm most proud of. Number one, I think that this is worth mentioning for me, especially, is as I've now been with Masters in Travel a full year, this was an opportunity and kind of like a win for learning how to run two businesses and creating a new revenue stream and feeling like it didn't overwhelm me. So that was a big win for me. And this is kind of goes hand in hand. I trusted my team with so much more responsibility to allow me to do that and also to allow me to take extended periods of time off. So I was really proud of that. I took 4 big trips this year. So I did Greece, I did Africa, I did Portugal, and I did Peru, which in each of those elements, different types of trips, fulfilling a different need, in both my personal and business life. So those were things that kind of like mattered to me. The trust that I put in my team, how to branch out and do something different that had been on my vision board, and how to start incorporating that type of travel again back into my yearly routine that has been a little bit off from, young kids, baby life, all that kind of stuff. So those were the things that I put on my list in terms of what I wanted to celebrate and really felt accomplished with.
Amazing. Amazing.
How about you?
Okay, so this year, my friends asked me this the other night at like an end of year happy hour. Somebody had to remind me that I had a baby. I was like, what am I most excited about this year? And I'm sitting there thinking, and someone's like, baby. And I was like, oh, yeah, that happened this year. So I think the not the having the baby part, but the fact that I was able to take basically 3 months of maternity leave. And during like typically slow planning season, which is summertime for me, but a very, 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 very busy departure season. And so
Mhm,
it was not 3 months of me just like, peace out, I'm out of here. But it was 3 months of me basically coming into the office once a week, sitting down, making a bunch of like doing final itinerary checks, departure video, and then back out.
mhm.
So just kind of like dipping in to do those final things that I feel really struggling about that I want to hold on to, which is a different conversation. So I am proud that like we did that and
Yeah.
nothing failed, nothing, nothing went bad. Like everything was like business survived. I hired my second employee, which super, super exciting that that has happened. She has been onboarded. She like we work super smoothly as a trio, like that. So it's been almost, I guess, 5 months, almost 6 months now. So it's been really, really great. Like financially, that's a different, like that's part of my goals for next year
Mhm,
because hiring just kind of takes a hit financially, which I knew was going to happen. And so now, like a lot of my goals for next year are like making sure that it's not continuing to hit me.
mhm,
I feel it in the workflow. I feel it in the workload, and I feel it in the efficiency at which we are pumping out itineraries with a greater volume of trip designs, which is a big part of why I brought someone on is to be able to handle a bigger volume. So like all of the results and the effects of that hire, I'm feeling in a positive way. And now like the money's got to catch up, basically. And then I rebranded and I absolutely love it. And I am so excited about the way that everything has turned out. And I also just feel like moving forward marketing wise, like the marketing related to the branding is just getting started. And so like I don't really have enough data yet to say like, oh, this is resulting in drastically different, results as before. But I just feel like everything we have planned in the coming months marketing wise, it just feels so much more authentic. It feels so much more aligned with the business that I'm wanting to expand. And so like I'm just very, very excited to continue watching that.
That's
So
good. Is it
yeah.
live now? Is it out in the world?
My website. Oh yeah.
Oh, yay.
Pull it
Cool.
up. Let's get a live reaction.
Okay, okay, I'm so excited.
www.
Yay. Oh, yeah, this is freaking bomb.
I think
I
the
love it
the
because I even remember I saw it on the last iteration and, like, what we walked through. But this is freaking amazing. This looks
yeah, you
great.
saw it you saw it in like very, very early stages
Yeah.
when, let's just say, feedback was given. I think
Uh-huh.
that I mean, that's something important that we can share. It's just like when you go into branding or like website design or copy or anything like that, and even if you hire a professional agency, and like this is very parallel to what we do, even if a client hires us to design their itinerary, we are really, really, really good at what we do. That
Mhm,
doesn't mean that for 100 clients out of 100, we knock it out of the park. And when you hire any sort of branding agency, copywriter, graphic designer, photographer, anyone, they are really good at what they do. Fundamentally, they are good at what they do because people pay them to do what they do. But it doesn't mean that their first rendition of what you've asked them is going to be knock out of the park. And for me, it
yeah,
wasn't. It
yeah,
was actually I was underwhelmed, is the word that I used
right.
with the
And
first
the good
rendition of
part
what they
was
sent
that
me.
you had enough knowledge of your business and your brand and your vision to be able to say, "Thanks, this is not it, but I can see where we're at and also where I was hoping to go, and I'm happy to put in the
Yep,
work with the feedback and the iterations and what have you, so that I can actually be super excited with the end product that I paid a lot of
exactly. Yeah, exactly, and I think that that's what I if there's any takeaway from that experience from my experience with this, is just, like, when you go into spending a whole lot of money on something, I I would not suggest anticipating or expecting that you're gonna pay a lot of money and then be hands off and it's just gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, that
Just
does.
like when we plan a trip for people and when people are just like, "No notes, here you go." Like, sometimes I feel really good about that, like, "Damn, whew, I did it." And then other times I'm like, "No notes at all? Like, did you read it? Did you look
Right.
through it? Like, are we sure this is" you know what I mean? Because I actually like when clients come back and they're a little bit more collaborative, because then
Mm,
I know that it's like, I did well, but this isn't me. This isn't my trip. And
yeah,
when they come back with a few notes, then it makes me feel like, okay, I got us 80 to 90% of the way there, and they got us the last 10% because they were a part of the process. But
right.
that's a very personal
Yeah.
preference of mine.
Yeah, for sure. But no, it looks amazing. That's a
Thank you.
huge goal. I think that's going to have ripple effects for, the way forward, which I know is the point and the purpose of investing in this way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess if we shoot into 2025, like the hiring and the branding specifically that I did this year were setting me up for expansion in 2025. So
Mhm,
I'm looking to double my business. I don't think doubling is going to happen in 2025. I think doubling is a 2-year plan,
mm,
but I am looking to increase my business by 50% at least in 2025.
mhm,
And what that is going to require is, a 50% increase in the number of inquiries coming in every single month, which is a lot, like if you're not really sure where, like, it's not going to continue to be repeat referral. Like these inquiries have to come from maybe referral, but like from a couple of degrees separated, right?
mhm.
And with really attracting new folks who have never had any touch points with my business before. And so that's the goal. That's where I want to be in a year. That's the result of all of the work. But now it's trying to figure out, like, what work am I going to do in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months to like have that end result of 50% growth.
Yeah, which is a big one. So let's kind of like, well, first, one kind of like, for me, this is important. I want to make sure that kind of I understand like how when you start to set your goals, is it coming from a place of, hey, here was a challenge or a setback from this previous theory that I'm addressing with these goals that I'm setting? Or is it more of what I think is in the case for you, not necessarily that this year was a challenge or a setback, but goals have to evolve based on like where you're trying to go. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what's driving it. Would that be fair?
So this goal that I've set is on the roadmap to my like 10-year vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that there was a problem or an issue with business in 2024. Like that
No,
was on track.
I feel pretty good about business in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
How did you set, like, what is your goal and what was the driving force behind that goal? What's your
I
goal for
feel,
next year, I mean?
well, I think that for me, there's definitely a challenge or like a plateau and slightly dip in what I was seeing in my business that for me is a bit of a red flag in terms of, hey, I'm not going to continue to keep doing the same thing and expecting better results. Like that's a little bit tricky because I actually made the plan at the end of last year, which I'm pretty sure we talked about on the podcast, that I wasn't interested in growth this year. I was interested in maintenance. Like I want to maintain and get both myself and my team comfortable at this level of business and have the time, energy, space to kind of give myself to a another thing and not feel overwhelmed that business is also growing, but then I have less time. So I wanted that maintenance and then to kind of revisit at the end of this year and be like, okay, and now what does growth look like? What does scaling look like next? Now that I kind of feel comfortable running in this lane. That's hard, number one, for a like results driven person. I realized I said it and that was the goal, but it still doesn't feel that great. And also, I think that not, there was a maintaining, but there was also a slight dip, which is a reason for me to be like, I can't just continue to do what I've done because what if it dips more? Then that's not okay. Like this dip was like, That's fine. It's not changing payroll. It's not changing how I spend money for expenses, but this is not the direction that I'm trying to head. And so for
Right.
me, what I saw as potential challenges and potential things to pay attention with to was number of inquiries, which affected number of conversions, which affected overall revenue, which affected profit. There's a trickle down effect. When
Yep,
you
yep,
start
yep.
with just literally at the like
Number of
funnel,
inquiries coming into
number of
your
inquiries,
inbox. Yeah.
it affected everything else. Now, thankfully, it did not affect the bottom line as much as as much of a percentage, I guess, effect of like the number at the top,
Yep.
that there wasn't the correlation like one to one or what have you to the bottom line. I think
Sure.
that's a positive thing, but it's still a cause for concern. So I think I'm going into setting goals for 2025 with that challenge in mind to be like, how do we right this ship and also strive forward with, like you said, the big long-term vision that I'm
Mhm.
trying to create and take action on as well. So a little bit of both and there.
So with this dip, did you kind of were you observing it throughout the year last year, or did it kind of come toward the end of the year in a way that you weren't necessarily expecting? Or like how were
No,
you
I know.
tracking this?
Yeah, because every year, as I think we both do, on a quarterly basis specifically for me, and I think you do this month to month, I'm looking at like where my numbers at in comparison to last year. So
Yeah.
when I get to the end of Q1 and I'm doing my Q1 meeting and I'm like, oh, inquiries in 2023 of Q1 were this, and then this year they're this, and conversions were this, and revenue was this, and I'm seeing negative percentages in all of these areas, not large, but not positive and not the
Yep.
same. And
Yep.
so I was able to see that on a quarter by quarter basis, which was helpful in seeing like, okay, this is what's happening in my business. I'm not unaware. Is there cause for concern? Is there a reason to kind of like change what I'm doing or take a different approach?
Mhm.
But I didn't get to the end of the year and was like, whoa, look at that,
Sure.
which
So
was
you saw it in quarter 1,
yeah.
and, like, did quarter 2 improve? Did quarter 2 kind of remain just, like, slightly below? Like, what happened in quarter 2 and quarter 3?
Oh no, it stayed.
It stayed, marginally negative, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, at what point it's still, like, not big enough that you're not, like, catastrophe, but, like, throughout these quarters where you're seeing these numbers, did you take any I don't know, what was the thought process as a business owner? Like, did you feel like it's time to take action, or were you just kind of in monitor mode? Or, like, did you try anything differently? Like, what were kind of the thoughts running through your mind as you, like, saw these numbers on a quarterly basis?
It was mostly monitor because they weren't drastic, and also I was kind of like, you didn't actually have anything in place to kind of like change change the outcome of your business, and this is kind of just the effects of that type of a
Mhm.
so I don't think besides there were a few things that we were implementing as the year went on that I think were more so big picture things, like they weren't going to change anything in the moment, right? But a couple of things that I got a little bit more intentional about, especially when I was just like, oh, number of trips, I started a campaign of like personal reach out. So making myself a
Mhm.
spreadsheet of the top 25% of trips that I did in the last 2 years that I hadn't heard from to plan
Mhm.
their next trip and wrote them all a personal email
Well,
of
we've been chatting about this in the Advisor Accelerator so much lately. What were the results of that? How did it go?
good, actually. Like
Okay.
some response, like, and I have my little spreadsheet of like, didn't hear back, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's sometimes what happens. Like they said nothing. Or, hey, like, so a couple of responses were like, oh my gosh, yes, we just bought a house, remodeled, we just had a baby. So like reasons why, which is good to
Mhm.
know that they're
Good to
still on the
know.
radar, they still have a good, and some were like, you know what, I really do want to do this like bucket list trip to Antarctica. Oh, I'm planning this family trip. Do you think you do this? Oh, and like, so there was actually movement from that reach out. Like now, would they have reached out eventually on their own? Maybe, probably. I don't know what the percentage is there, but the action on my part saw a result that was like an immediate correlation, which I think goes back to because all of my other marketing initiatives are like big, time to tell. The ROI is way down the road. Who knows if my
Sure, sure.
website refreshes, my social media higher, if my,
Mhm.
LinkedIn strategy, all these things are going to pay off. They're going to pay off if they do long term. This kind of like specific type of work is more so like, I'm going to just do the in the details, nitty gritty stuff to try and actually drum up some business.
Mhm.
And also for me personally, now you can do this in a variety of ways. There's not one way to do it. I prefer this than going to like a networking event and trying to like meet a new person, or other ways that can also be, successful. So like there's not one way to kind of do this, but it is kind of like I wanted to see if my action could yield results like immediately type of a thing.
And they yielded responses. Did you feel like, did some inquiries, like, direct, like, are you now working on some trip designs thanks to those? Yep,
Yeah. So that was good.
good.
But yeah, so I think that was like a big driving force of how I ended the year and how I'm planning for the specific goals I have next year.
Amazing. So, I guess, did you share your goal for next year?
Oh.
What's your goal for next year?
Sorry. And excuse my Kermit the Frog. Just yeah, I sound disgusting right now.
That
So
time of year.
there's okay, so there's a couple of different goals that all are actually reaching towards increased inquiries, increased revenue growth, specific increased revenue growth of about 20%.
Okay.
And then like how that's going to happen in terms of increased conversions, all of those things being the things that I want to see affecting the bottom line, which for me, revenue slash profit. And so I kind of outlined, hey, here's the actual like result that I'm looking for.
Yeah, so
Here's
we
the
both have increased inquiries, increased bookings, increased revenue as, like, our end of year goal for next year. Okay. So I'm curious to know how you're approaching, like, here's how I'm gonna make this happen versus me.
yeah. So I kind of outlined it like this is going to happen by managing a certain number of trips, increasing the average revenue per trip, securing more high margin bookings, raising my planning fee, and marketing initiatives that are going to drive more inquiries. So those are kind of like the 5 areas that I think all lead to the increase of revenue. Does that make sense?
I'm gonna make you repeat it because 'cause I'm processing. Say those 5 things again.
Okay. The number of trips that I'm going to manage, meaning essentially the conversion rates
Okay.
that I'm going
Okay.
to kind of
Are you? Because 'cause I'm not gonna, by the time you get to the end of the 5, I'm gonna be like, "What's the first one again?"
okay,
So, conversion rates, are you imagining that increase, like, your let's say your current conversion rate is, I don't know, 80%, and you wanna increase it to 85%. Are
mhm.
you imagining that your processes are doing that? Are you imagining that you're attracting, like, a higher quality inquiry in the first place, therefore it's easier for you to say yes? Are you actually gonna start saying yes to some lower things that you might not have last year? Like, what are you thinking around that?
Yeah, so number 1 is just gonna be there's a goal of more inquiries, period, than there was last
Okay,
year.
okay.
The thing that I'm doing for that to happen is, number 1, like, the marketing focus, which is going to be a far more consistent and over more platforms and more channels. Number 2, it's going to be a simplified trip design form so that, like, I'm actually letting more people in the door to have conversations about what they're looking for, the value we provide, and where that match is. Now, whether or not I have to track, because whether or not that leads to more quality inquiries
Mhm.
versus more if my conversion rate goes down because I have like the number, but the quality isn't there. And so therefore, no, they're not converting because I don't even want them to convert, then that's a
Yeah,
problem, something to measure. So
yeah.
targeting the conversion rate, but also targeting the number of inquiries and focusing on, okay, it is going to be my marketing initiatives in different areas. It's going to be my different trip design form. It's going to be the one pager that I create that kind of outlines our value and our process that like is something we have something similar, but this is going to be a little bit more of a different approach because there is a less on the front end of the questions I'm asking. I still want to make sure that people are walking into a conversation kind of with a good
Mhm.
understanding of how we fit and what we do. So
Mhm.
those are kind of like the different ways that I'm going to approach how I want the increased conversion rates to happen.
Okay. Okay. Let's mentally note to check back in on this in Q2, right?
Sure. Yes.
Because, yeah, okay. Then you said increased, well, you're going to increase your fees. That's straightforward.
Yes. And well, it is straightforward. I haven't decided yet, like what they're going to be, but nominal increase I think makes no difference in terms of
Yeah.
are people saying yes or no. So that's kind of
Yeah.
like an easy no brainer. It's when you raise them significantly and you are trying to make a difference in perhaps the type of client you're working with and or the percentage of your overall revenue that fees make up being more significant. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is. I can do the math real quick, but like $65,000 in fees last year, that's fine. But I feel like, oh, there's just money on the table there that a nominal increase across a lot of trips like is an easy low hanging fruit. So yes,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, for sure. It could probably increase 10% with a nominal increase, right? Something like
oh yeah,
that.
yeah.
What was the second one?
Average revenue per trip.
Oh, yeah. So this you're thinking like nominal things that you're in control of, like offering upgrades, offering suggested things beyond their budget. Is that what you're thinking? Or it's back to wanting to attract higher quality inquiries?
Well, it's higher quality inquiries, but part of it I think, which has been not just a this year goal, but it is tied to destination, which is something that your data can tell you, right? Normally you're going to see the revenue earned per trip higher in certain destinations than others. And
Mhm.
so you take a look at that at the end of the year if you're tracking that sort of data.
Mhm.
And it's been my wish to do more business. I think this is kind of a no-brainer, but do more business in areas where I
In
love, but I also
Mongolia?
yeah.
Oh, oh, Africa, Africa. It's right. It's Africa, right? Okay, so I feel like, sorry, I'm going to challenge you a little bit because I think that everybody says this, right? I
Yeah.
think that everybody wants to increase the quality of their inquiries, and we are not in control of the quality of inquiry that walks in the door. We are only in control of what we put out there to attract said quality inquiries.
Yes.
So, how are you approaching that?
Well, I think that there's a direct correlation between what you're marketing, how you're marketing it, the areas that you're highlighting, the places that you're traveling, the conferences that you're going to, all of those things are going to allow you hopefully to be seen as an expert and showcase expertise and attract clients who are drawn to the aspirational content that you're putting out there and what you're showing yourself to be known for to those specific types of trips, types of destinations, etc. And so for me, that's why I'm doing the conferences that I'm doing. I'm taking the fam trips that I'm taking. I'm showcasing what I'm showcasing and putting out what I hope to attract. That's the part that's in my control. Now,
Mhm.
what I
Mhm.
attract is going to be far broader than that, but hopefully those actions make that attraction in that specific category grow, grow, grow. That's
So
my goal.
do you feel like you have a really solid strategy for marketing FAMs and conferences that you go to before, during, and after so that clients get the message that you're looking
Well,
for some higher
I
quality
sure do.
folks?
I sure do think so, and I am, you know, I
You
am,
guys, this is a bit of an
refining.
inside joke that I know Brianna has the answer to this, and I'm trying to pull it out of her so she'll share it with us.
Yes, which is totally a longer conversation, potentially over weeks and weeks and weeks, because
Exactly.
I think that this
It's
is
not simple, obviously.
it's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
simple answer. It's not a simple strategy, and I'm learning more about it, and I'm happy to share more about it with others if they would be interested, because I think that it's such a big part in what we invest in our business, and
Yeah.
how are we taking that investment and making sure that we're squeezing as much juice out of it as possible, right? So
Yes. Mhm.
that's very, very important. And so when I'm looking at, hey, I'm applying to this fam, or I'm setting up this trip, or I'm doing even like I have it down, even with my whole marketing strategy and the thing that I've developed at the end of this year, it's specific enough. Now nobody's going to notice on the, consumer facing side, but it's specific enough in terms of percentages of posts that have to do with certain destinations or have to do with
Yes.
travel
Yes.
or are attractive to a certain type of traveler. So where I say, hey, I have these two different like client types that I work with, which a lot of us do. The honeymooner, the, empty nester, what have you. I do about this percent, but who am I speaking to? So maybe now it's 30-70. By the end of the year, it's going to be 70-30. That's what you'll see slowly on. Yeah, I know it's happening. It's not going to be like so obvious,
Talking
but
to more the empty nester than the honeymooner. Is that what you mean?
it's
Okay. Yeah.
intentional in that way. It's not just like, hey, let me make sure that I'm consistent with my social media. It's what am I
What
putting
are
out?
you saying and who are you
Who am I
talking to?
saying it to? What's the point? What do I hope to, like, where's the end goal and what are my incremental steps to get there? So
Mhm.
all of the
Yeah.
things what I'm thinking through, what's the strategy here? Why? It's just
Yes.
asking, continuing to ask
Constantly
yourself, why? Like you
13
can't
pages worth.
13 pages worth, y'all.
Yeah. Just if you don't have 13 pages, you haven't ask again. Why? Why am I doing this? And I think this is such a good strategy. And I'm so glad you mentioned this because I don't write things down like you do, but then I'm doing things and I kind of forget that I'm doing them. So I also have a few key trips planned for 2025 along with conferences that I in this year in 24 said, these are my top priority destinations. I want to go to South Africa. I want to go to Japan and I want to go to Duco, Italy. Those three things are on the calendar, right? Because I very intentionally said it's not, I want to go on a fam, I want to go on a trip, I want to go to a conference. It was those three things. And I told my host agency, I told my supplier, my preferred supplier partners, like I told anyone who would listen, this is what I'm looking for so that they could help connect those dots with me. And then now I've gone to my marketing person and I'm saying, okay, these are on the calendar. We are going to be talking about these destinations for 3 or 4 weeks like in an intense way while I'm traveling before, during, and after. But then it's going to continue to trickle through marketing beyond that. It's not going to be like a one and done. And so, just kind of like you said, like these trips are not only for my professional development, they are also going to be tied super, super closely to marketing because they are profitable trip designs that I want to do more of. This all connects.
Yeah, it's like an ecosystem. So
Yeah.
in the same way that like say for instance, like the 50% increase in business is such a huge goal and I'm here for it. I kind of want to know, is there a different approach that your brain takes to actually like how it goes through? Okay, 50% increase in business is this top line. Like,
Mhm.
is a result I want to see. Is there a
Mhm.
different way your brain ping pongs on all the things that like can affect that ultimate result that you are trying to get to? Do you think through, plan, strategize differently or similarly that I've just described?
I think yes to all of that. It's similar and it's different. So I guess my thought process is that the 50% increase in business is less about profit and more about covering my team's salaries in a very comfortable way and paying myself what I want to pay myself. That is the underlying motivation of that 50% increase. And so it's not related to like the $1 million revenue goal, for example. It's more related to I want to pay all my staff salaries. So that's two team members plus my marketing person with fees every single month. In order to do that, I need to charge approximately $7,000 in fees. That's not including paying myself, that's including 3 employees. So if I need to charge $7,000 to $8,000 in fees every month, that's approximately 10 trips. My fees are $750 to $850 on average. Okay, so I need to plan 10 trips per month. I need 13 inquiries per month based on my conversion numbers. 13 come in, I say yes to approximately 10. Right now, I'm getting like 8 or 9 inquiries per month, and I need 13. So
Mhm,
that's how I'm working backwards of like, I want to pay employees with fees. How is that going to happen? Where am I now? This is the delta I need to fill. And
mhm.
then those are all the results, right? So I'm not in control of anything that I just said. Those are just the results that I want to see. And I'm actually seeing that result in this month, which this month just turned out to be bonkers with inquiries. We know really
So
excited,
weird.
right? Like
So
super
what is
weird.
the
Usually
end of the
this
year
month is so
doing? I'm
quiet.
like, I am supposed to be sipping hot cocoa,
Yeah,
watching Christmas movies. Y'all
I know.
get out of my inbox.
Yeah, no, my inquiries this month are just bonkers, but I'm now excited to see, like, it's not just hit it 1 month and be good, it's can I do this consistently? Because
Mhm,
I'm watching my team handle this volume, which is beautiful because this is why they're there. but it's my job to keep the increase coming in so that we are consistently designing this volume of trips on a monthly basis. So then my brain then goes next to, okay, we're currently getting 8 or 9. I think between 6 or 7 or 8, let's say 6 to 8 increase per month kind of happen for me with little to no work, like just
Right.
based on my repeat and referral business.
That's the
I'm not
snowball
posting
effect
on
of
social
you being
media.
in business 9
Ye
years.
Exactly, exactly. That's just kind of like where my business just kinda hangs out and chills, like, I'm planning 6 or 7 trips per month. So, if I wanna get up to 10 consistently, then my question to myself as a business owner is, "What am I gonna do to generate this additional business?" Because it's not just sit around and, whatever. So, things that
Not a
I
hope and a prayer?
rebranded. Huh?
It's not a hope and a prayer? Is that what you do?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I rebranded so that I feel like that's more aligned. I am taking back control of my marketing, so I'm no longer using a third-party marketing service. I'm now my marketing person is writing newsletters every other week to my audience on the topics that I choose. I am planning travel that is very, very aligned to what I want to plan, and I have a marketing strategy around talking about these FAMs and professional development trips as much as possible. My business and my new brand will be highlighted in a local magazine in January, which I'm super stoked about.
That's
And
cool.
provided that that goes well, there's potential for that to occur. They publish the magazine 6 times a year. So this kind of PR effect that I've never had before is in the works. So that's something that, remains to be seen. Let's see. I'm going to start sending postcards of photos that clients share with me during their trip, sending it as a postcard and like a little note to check in 6 months after their trip. So very similar to the email. So this
Mhm.
the same kind of checkpoint thing, check in
Mhm.
6 months or so
Mhm.
later. I've never done that before, so I'm going to implement
Cool.
that. And I'm now taking no longer driving reviews toward Virtuoso and driving reviews toward my Google profile to try to stir up more like local business because word is getting out that I'm the travel agent here in Des Moines, which is exciting, which
That's
is
a
super
great
exciting.
use of, like, being in a smaller community and a town who that I mean, I don't think it works where I live, but I could be wrong. Also, I tried to, like, set up my business on Google, and that is a cluster in and of itself. They're
I
like,
did
"Take
it.
photos, I'm like, "What
I
in the
legit did it
world?"
in 2016, and I think that I got grandfathered into this
Oh,
complicated
it's
process because
so
it
complicated.
was annoying then, but it wasn't like it is now. So I think, did I answer your question? I think to answer your question is like I've got a lot of irons in the fire in marketing things because marketing is such it's not an immediate result. And so
Yeah.
in my mind, it's like I know all the things that I'm doing marketing wise, and now I'm just going to monitor the increase. And I'm probably going to monitor it through Q1 without
Doing
doing much
anything.
different because I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
want time to show. And then if we get to April, May, June, and I'm still not hitting that mark of where I want to be, that's when I'll be like digging in and like looking to like change, try something different, like
Mhm.
dig in a little deeper.
Okay, that's super great. It's interesting because I'm just trying to pull up here, like where, at what time of year inquiries for me come in or conversions come in. Yeah, gosh, I mean,
Mine are Q1 and Q2 usually.
yeah, yeah.
So that's why I'll watch it for Q1, but then I need to take immediate action if it's not
Do you
where I
know?
want it
Like
to
this
be.
is what I mean. In 2023, when I had 60 inquiries in January.
I remember you telling me that and I thought you were just bonkers. Like,
Like,
that's
what
insane.
in the
I've never heard of
actual hell?
something like that.
So, of course, like, even to give myself a little bit of grace, the fact that they were down is maybe not that big a deal.
Honestly, honestly. Yeah,
I mean,
that
that was
number
just so crazy.
is insane. So I find it fascinating that our goals are similar, our approaches, I don't think that they're different. I think it's just, marketing approaches, you gotta put it out there and kinda see what hits.
Yeah,
But I'm very, very eager to check in on this and how we feel things are working and if we're just going to keep on keeping on or if we're going to start shifting. Let's check in on this like in our late March combo.
100%. So, hopefully, you guys, what you heard from our kind of convo You just being and sharing vulnerable of where we're at, what we do at the end of the year, why we're doing it, our strategies, just to kind of give you an inside look into our brains and our approach. Not that it's the only way, but it is one way. And we do have some, some time in the game to kind of see, hey, this has worked, this is a good approach, what have you. So take from it what you will, but also stay tuned for when we just actually follow up with how this went and where we're trending and what we're seeing in our businesses, because that's all it is. It's trying things and seeing how they work out and trying new things if that didn't work. So the
Awesome.
nature of entrepreneurship, right?
I'm super excited to check back in a few months.
All right. Well, you have a great holiday season and I will see you in 2025.
See you.